Okay, the War Within's first major patch will pretty much change everything. Absolutely massive class changes pretty much across the board. Hero talent tree reworks, the 20th anniversary event with its own event area near the Caverns of Time, minigames, tons of rewards to collect like the brand new updated tier 2 armor sets, way to earn some powerful gear in Valor Stone 6, brand new world bosses active all at the same time, new classic time walking dungeons for the Dead Mines and Dire Maw alike, and even BlackRock Depths officially becoming a raid for normal and heroic difficulty to drop some juicy loot. Today we're going to be breaking down the War Within's first major 0.5 patch coming out in just a few weeks, most of the changes coming with it, and how to earn all of these rewards. Now when we say just a few weeks, we have a pretty good notion that this is actually happening. The data miners over at Wowhead leaked that the PTR game files will be starting on October 22nd, as you can see on screen here. Additionally, this is even reinforced when the classic time walking event will also begin at the same exact time on October 22nd. Right off the bat during the event, we're going to be getting a buff that is going to be increasing our experience and reputation gains by 10%. On top of that, there's going to be a daily quest during the event that will give you 10% bonus to experience and reputation for 12 hours as well. So just from this event alone, you're looking at a 20% increase across the board. To add on to this, it's also worth noting that the Darkmoon Fair event will be active multiple times during the event, which in case you didn't know, you can get a bonus from there as well to increase your leveling speed substantially. So to add all of it up, you have 10% bonus from the general event, 10% from the daily quest during the event, 10% from the Darkmoon Fair, and 25% if you have multiple characters leveled up in the War Within, all adding up to 55%, making leveling up alts pretty much trivial during this time. So you're definitely going to want to take advantage of this because it's incredibly easy, giving you a nice bang for your buck during the event. Now let's talk rewards. Right off the bat, the biggest highlight has to be the tier 2 sets for all classes in the game. Additionally, they also made the tier 2 armor sets available for some of the classes that didn't have the chance to obtain it back in the day, such as the Death Knight, the Monk, the Demon Hunter, and Evoker. So yes, we got brand new HD models of the old tier 2 sets, which are some of the most iconic the game has ever seen. Now, how this is going to work is that each of the tier 2 sets are going to cost roughly 60 bronze tokens, which are the event currency that you will be obtaining by completing quests in the event. Yes, 60 bronze tokens may seem like a lot, but thankfully, there is an achievement that will be reducing any of the cost of the transmog sets that you buy past the first one. So that should definitely help you obtain multiple sets the more you buy. Additionally, there will be some new armor and weapon transmog styled after the, Blizzard employee rewards, like the sword, the shield, and the helmet transmog you see on screen here. They look absolutely beautiful, and they have a nice blue and silver theme to them, which I think would fit great for a protection paladin and be a knockout transmog option for you out there. Additionally, there are some new toys and pets, as well as a new toy that gives you a nice big, chunky ring on your finger to make you look nice and cool. And you also have the option to obtain some older anniversary event items like costumes and toys alike. So now that we know some of the awards that we can obtain, how do we actually get some of these bronze tokens? Well, there are going to be a wide variety of daily quests and just general quests in the event area near the Caverns of Time, and you will be awarded with your tokens daily and sometimes one-time earned quest. Now, when it comes to some of the cool events you have during this time, you have the mount competition, which is really cool for some of you mount collectors out there. Pretty much you will join the event area and there will be a random mount selected by the NPC on screen that you see, and then it will give you the opportunity to mount up on your mount, and if you have that current mount, you will get awarded a point. Then simply put, the player with the most points by the end of the game wins. Very simple, straightforward, but super fun to do these little competitions with some of your guildies or your friends. You have a cool little photo booth, a Lore Walker Cho story event where you just hang out and watch the history of Azeroth unfold, random costumes you can find around the area to form you into awesome characters in history, and a bunch of other stuff. Additionally, there is going to be weekly quests dedicated to this event, such as the Chromie Codex event, where you will have the opportunity to earn a nice piece of loot, celebration tokens, Harbinger Crest, and Valor Stones. The idea is that you queue into a scenario-specific event with this one, handle some time anomalies with Chromie and some other random players, and earn yourself some shiny new rewards. Not only that, when you queue up for the event, you will also obtain a 571 goodie bag from the dungeons and raid screen as well. So when you're on your alternate characters, you have quite the amount of opportunities to obtain some significant loot, and this isn't all of them. Another weekly quest you'll be able to have is to take down some of the world bosses, such as Lord Kazak or Azure Ghost out in the open world, which will once again award you with similar loot like the 597 item level gear. Additionally, you could just look on your map to find any of these world bosses, as they have brand new icons and they're highlighted on the map, and each of these should be very easy to see. Additionally, each of these world bosses drop 584 gear potentially, and even have a chance at dropping their respective mounts like they did back in the day. Now, another one of the major updates is of course going to be the fact that you can go back to the BlackRock Depths and try to complete it as an updated raid. The updated raid will have a looking for group, normal, and heroic difficulty, and there will be a one-time quest to award you some tokens as well, and even a weekly quest to award you a ton of badges and other resources that are useful to you. The raid will be available in 3 different sets of difficulties and award you with gear starting at 584 for Raid Finder and potentially shooting all the way up to 610 item level when you complete it on heroic, which is very, very big. Not only that, there are also specific items in there like the Iron Foe, if you remember that from Classic, from the last boss that drops at 619 item level, which is very big in terms of obtaining gear that is still relevant to some of us in just a couple weeks time. Additionally, we're going to be having the chance to participate in the Classic Time Walking Dungeons event with dungeons that include Dire Maul, Deadmine, Stratholme, and Zul'Farrak. Additionally, there will also be a weekly quest to complete 5 of these dungeons, which you guessed it, of course, will award you with 597 item piece of gear, and you're going to have a nice nostalgic little adventure here going through all these dungeons again. These were some of my favorite of all time personally. I really loved the Deadmines one back in the day. I genuinely think that's one of the most nostalgic dungeons of all time, so anytime I can come across it, it's always a great feeling. But yes, those are all of the rewards and events generally going on. Let's dive into some of the juicy stuff, which include the big class changes and reworks. Paladins, we're starting off with you. You're pretty much getting a complete rework on your class talent tree that really prunes things down and help them out from a utility standpoint. For example, they have a worthy sacrifice that will now automatically cast Blessing of Sacrifice on an ally when they reach below 35% health, which is really nice. Another passive like Selfless Healer that increases your flash of light healing on allies and duplicates some of the effect onto you. You have Lightbearer, which converts some of the healing onto you to be divided amongst your allies, so I think you get the point here. They're just converting a lot of their utility, trimming it down to make things feel a lot better for you paladins out there. If you're interested in looking at a really in-depth look at all these changes, they're on screen now, so you can pause, check in, and dive in deeper if you're a paladin yourself. When it comes to Druid, balance is the major highlight here, where they're getting a decent size update. I will say flat out that these changes don't exactly fix any of the main issues this class has. They just simply put a band-aid over them for now. Starfall is now becoming baseline, which gives you an extra talent point, which is nice, as well as just smoothing out the the talent tree direction. Celestial Alignment's cooldown is now reduced, and it also has 2 charges, which seems to be pretty nice. So like every minute or so, you'll be dealing a nice chunk of damage, which will seem nice in a Mythic Plus environment. Also, nobody loves this spell, but Wild Mushroom is also getting a passive version where it can proc off of your Sunfire to summon a mushroom all on its own. So this might be good to take later down the line when you get some gear and really increase the rate at which you generate astral power. And then generally, they're just trying to remove power away from Wrath and Starfire and shift it into some of their spenders so they feel a bit more impactful, which is something they've been trying to do since beta, and they haven't really hit the mark, but I'm hoping this time around it actually makes it work. Additionally, through some of the bigger worries, they still haven't been addressed though. One of those is that they didn't increase their defensive capability at all, and yet again, they don't have any way to cast on the move. So I do have my worry still about balance in the future. There are a lot more changes, and if you want to see them, you can just pause the screen on here and go through every single minor change if you're interested. Shifting focus and going to rogues now, you have some of the worst hero talent trees design in the game, and sadly, they didn't end up changing any of that, but I will admit they did make some nice changes, so let's go through them. Right off the bat, a major quality of life is going to be the fact that Cut to the Chase will now grant Slice and Dice duration instead of just extending it, meaning that you can pretty much remove Slice and Dice from your bars entirely and will never have to press it again, which is a very big win. Thistle Tea will now additionally automatically activate when your energy is reduced below 30, which is great if you're, a more new rogue and you're not really sure how to use it. And you also got a complete rework to Echoing Reprimand, making it a passive now that activates on some of your damage amplifiers like Shiv, roll the bones, or symbols of death. When this happens, it amplifies combo points like it did in the past, and additionally, you can have a couple more passive effects like increasing the damage of your next mutilate or sinister strike after consuming this. So generally, it's just there to reduce some button bloat, and for Rogue, that's a pretty damn big deal considering it takes like 10 to 15 seconds to really get your damage going and really hit that peak performance. Of course, there are some individual changes like Assassination getting a new passive called Twist the Knife that can, cause your Envenom to overlap and stack up to 2 times, which is nice. Crack Shot will now refresh the cooldown between the eyes when you enter stealth. Personally, I still hate that they're going and catering to this whole Crack Shot style of gameplay, but at least they're making it a bit better. Subtlety is getting probably the most changes with them losing Sepsis as an ability and Invigorating Shadow Dust as a passive, which was really key in their rotation, but now a lot of their cooldowns have been drastically reduced. They get multiple charges of Symbols of Death now, and Trickster's Coup de Grace doesn't lock you on a, GCD, which is really smooth for that hero talent tree. Moving on to Hunters now, they're getting some nice changes to all 3 specs on top of a complete rework to the Dark Ranger hero talent tree, which desperately needed it. Pretty much Black Arrow will now replace Kill Shot, and it's all about getting these Kill Shot procs and using this ability during the execute window. For both specs, you have a brand new passive called Death Blow, which will give you a chance to allow your kill shot to be used on the target regardless of their maximum health. Banshee's Mark will sometimes apply a Murder of Crows, a couple ways to generate some AoE Black Arrows with Withering Fire, which is nice, and a couple more options that just seem very, very fun. So if you're BM or Marksmanship Hunter, you're definitely in for a treat in just a few weeks' time. With Beast Mastery, they're also increasing their duration and cooldown of Barb Shot, so you don't have to spam it so often, which is really a win when it comes to just quality of life. For Marksmanship in particular, some of the big ones include their Steady Focus passive, only having to use Steady Shot 1 time rather than 2 to get the haste buff stacks. Precise Shot only causing your next Arcane Shot or Multi-Shot to deal damage rather than it being 2, which is a big one. And for Survival Hunter, they're making quite the amount of updates for quality of life, which include Butchery and Fury of the Eagle improvements. It seems like Hunters, they didn't make complete reworks to the specs individually, just some individual tuning and cleaning up for the rotations. And they kind of did similar to Mage. Thankfully, Fire Mage is getting some design changes. One of those include the Majesty of the Phoenix stacking up to 3 times now to pretty much give you a nice heavy hitting chunky flame strike. They're also reworking Lay Drinker to not work with Arcane Barrage anymore, and it will also apply during Touch of the Magi. I mean, generally, Mage didn't really need much done to it. It's shot out of the gate so far this expansion really, really strong, so Mages overall should be happy. Shamans, on the other hand, we got some fantastic news. Ascendance has gotten completely reworked for Elemental, now not allowing you to spam Lava Burst anymore, but having a pretty big payoff where it automatically casts Flame Shock and Lava Burst at 6 nearby enemies instantly, which is really nice for kickstarting some damage on some on-demand burst. Additionally, your elemental overloads during your Ascendance deal 150% increased damage, which is really nice and feels really good when you line up all your burst cooldowns. Not only that, you also got a couple different variants of visuals when it comes to the Ascendance model, like the armored one or the long-haired Boam Samdi lookalike that you see on screen here, so it really comes down to personal preference. You also get a passive to amplify your Lightning Rod, and then a brand new passive to cause your Lava Burst to consume a few seconds of your Flame Shock on your target, which is nice to amplify your Lava Burst damage. An additional improvement for Shaman that I've always wanted is that Stormkeeper is pretty much going to be involved in every build now, which is fantastic for AoE or single target. And then Ice Fury also got a pretty much complete rework, with it being able to proc off of a ton of different abilities now, and then cause your next Frost Shock to deal a nice big chunk of AoE damage, which I really, really like. Something I don't like though is that they're removing the cast time reduction from your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, which is going to feel a little bit clunky, and also reducing the duration of your elemental pets. So they're kind of stealing damage from other areas and simply putting it into more highlighted focused areas like Lava Burst and your Ascendance window. Enhancement Shaman, however, your Doom Wind's ability becomes an AoE damage effect when you activate it on top of the previous effect it had, so it feels a little bit more impactful. Voltaic Blaze that has a chance to make your Flame Shock AoE and deal a nice chunk of damage all on its own. Ice Shock having the chance to become a proc rather than an activatable ability, and some updates to Crash Lightning when it comes to single target. The big highlight for enhancement though has to be the rework to the Totemic Hero talent tree. Previously, nothing really flowed with the Totemic Hero talent tree that well, but they're just making everything so much more streamlined and really work with you and some of your brand new talents like Hot Hands, spreading your Flame Shocks easily, as well as drastically increasing the rate at which your Surging Totem does its AoE damage. Overall, feels infinitely better than previously before, so now Enhancement Shamans actually have the option between 2 hero talent trees, which is fun. When it comes to Monk in general, they're not doing too much other than updating Shadow Pan with their flurry strikes. It will now proc on 240 energy rather than 300, which will mean you get to cast it a bit more often, but then to supplement for that, they're reducing the damage by 8%, which still will be a net increase though. For Resto Druid, thankfully they're getting some updates like Nature Swiftness having 2 charges, Abundance getting buffed with the Wildwood Roots talent, Swiftman's cooldown being reduced, and my favorite, automatic nourishes when you consume clear casting with your regrowth, which is really juicy. I still think that the class needs a bit more work, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. But generally, yes, ladies and gentlemen, 11.0.5 comes out in just a few weeks time, and honestly, it's set to change the War Within permanently. Tons of class changes and reworks, brand new events and awards to obtain for all of your alternate characters, a 55% experience boost to level up those alts, a brand new raid with the BlackRock Depths, classic time walking dungeons, and so much more. This should entertain us for some time until we get the 0.7 patch sometime in late January or early February. So I hope you all are entertained. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It's an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.
Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the content, we have a ton of other videos to help you get through the War Within, like these 2 right here. And since you're already here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button to join the Comeback Kids family today, because every subscriber matters. Thank you all so much for enjoying the video. I'll see you in the next one.